What is happening, everybody? Welcome to your Monday edition of Snacksize DFS. I'm Dan Vespers, and I'm here to introduce my buddy Brenton Eckersley, who's going to be bringing you the entire Monday evening DFS slate in this 17-minute breakdown here on Old Man Squad Fantasy Basketball and the Old Man Squad Sports Network. I hope you guys love what we're doing here. We just want to keep bringing you more and more content. Brenton is a seasoned DFS expert, a hell of a podcaster, someone I've worked with before, and he's going to do everything in his power in a quick hitter fashion, a way to break down that DFS card fast so you guys don't have to sit through a 30, 40, 50-minute show. If you only have 15 to 20 minutes to set up your lineup, this is the place to do it. He's going to tell you why he's making the picks he is, how you can really sort of pare the card down and get it to a digestible set of chunks and win at daily fantasy sports. This is not a full season NBA show. This is daily fantasy Snacksize DFS with Brenton Eckersley. Make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to our channel so you can get this show and all of our other amazing stuff through Old Man Squad Fantasy Basketball. And Bet Online continues to be the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for online betting. They've got the largest selection of odds on everything from football to the NBA and college basketball, NHL and UFC, and on all of that good stuff, the earliest odds, live in-game betting, and the ability to watch the action while it's happening. Head to Bet Online today. Do not forget to use promo code BELIEVE, B-L-E-A-V, for your welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet Online. The game starts here. Brenton, take it away.
Thanks, Dan. Welcome in, everybody, to the second episode of Snacksize DFS, part of the Old Man Squad Network. I'm your host, Brenton Eckersley. I'm coming to you from Adelaide in South Australia. It is Monday afternoon here, around about 3:30 p.m, and it is hot. Boys, hot. We're looking at 40 degrees Celsius, and for the guys out there, guys and girls in Fahrenheit world, that's about 104 degrees Fahrenheit. So it is sweltering. I've got my New Orleans Pelicans singlet on to keep me cool. Yes, I'm a Pelicans fan. Don't hold it against me. We are having a shocking season, and today was no better. But that's okay, because we're here to talk about DFS, not about the New Orleans Pelicans, although I could talk about those guys all day. Snacksize DFS. So if you are here for the first time, welcome. What we're trying to do here is bring you a format for time-poor DFS players. I love to play DFS. I'm a fantasy guy through and through. What I don't have time for, though, unfortunately, is to listen to a 60-minute podcast, a 90-minute podcast, read through a 2-page essay to get myself ready for DFS slates. So there must be other people out there like me, time poor, you still want to play. This is the podcast and the video for you. So what I aim to do is to bring these slates breakdowns to you in about 8 to 10, maybe 15 minutes on a longer day. It won't be every day, but I'll be here as much as possible. It's also going to be a good format for beginners, for people who haven't played DFS before but want to see how someone who's played a lot of DFS, see how the mind works and see where you can extract value from certain guys at certain prices. You'll probably find that most of the guys that I'm looking at are just good, solid value. I will touch on high price guys. I will touch on bottom of the barrel guys that you often need for your DFS lineups. But what you'll find is me looking at value first and foremost. Where can we exceed value? Where can we just put ourselves over the top with a few extra points every time we make a pick? Just so you know, I'm not just blowing smoke here and talking crap. Our format over here in Australia is Draft Stars. When I'm on this podcast, I'm talking DraftKings prices with you guys. But our format over here is Draft Stars. I had time to put in one lineup today. I'm currently expected to finish in the top 10 in a 600-person tournament game. So yeah, I've been doing this a while. Doesn't always come off. It's DFS, but just so you guys know that I do kind of know what I'm talking about a little bit. Let's jump into the game, shall we? There's 6 games on Monday, December the 16th. I like to start the show with some game notes on faster games, slower games, potential blowouts. The 2 fast games that we're looking at here are Chicago and Toronto. That's a 238-point total expected. That should stay close to. And the Denver-Sacramento game is 237 expected, and that should also stay close, hopefully. So a couple of nice games there to target. That's one thing we want to look at in DFS world is fast games. Are they going to stay close? Then we can start looking at the higher price guys for those games. Slow games, Miami and Detroit, 218 total. That's one to potentially avoid if you're trying to toss up between a couple of guys, a couple of players in the same position, similar pricing. Take the fast guy every time. Take the larger total. Take the opportunity to get more fantasy points rather than fewer. The other slow game for the day is Philly and Charlotte. That's a 213 total, which is the slowest of the day. But that should stay close because we've got no Embiid. Jared McCain's also injured. So, yeah, we've got a potential close game there. Teams to attack or stack with. If you don't know what stacking is, it's playing multiple guys from one team in a single lineup to attack a particularly poor defensive team. That's basically what stacking is. You can also do that with those high points total games like the ones I mentioned before. Chicago versus Toronto, and back the other way on the in the same game. Toronto versus Chicago. Lots of fantasy points on offer here. It's a fast game. We've got a 1 point spread, or so Vegas thinks. So, yeah, that's a good one to attack. Cleveland versus Brooklyn. Brooklyn have been giving up a lot of fantasy points as well, but that is a 10-point spread. So watch the high-priced players. I tend to stay away from high-priced players where there could be a blowout, because the last thing you want is to pay $10,000 on DK and have your guy sit for the last quarter. Doesn't happen all that often, but it can happen. The Clippers versus Utah. Again, Utah giving up heaps of fantasy points. It is an 8.5 point spread again, so be careful with your high priced players. Teams to avoid. Look, I probably don't want much to do with Detroit versus Miami. That's always a tough matchup, and it's a slow game. However, you'll see in my notes that Tobias Harris is out for Detroit, so it opens up a little bit for some other Detroit players. All right, let's jump in. Game number 1 is Philly at Charlotte. There is heaps to talk about here. LaMelo could be back. So LaMelo is listed as questionable. What that's going to do if he plays is decimate Vasily Micic, and it's also going to potentially take the ceilings off of guys like Miles Bridges and Brandon Miller. However, look, Miles Bridges is tonight priced at 6K on DK, and I still like that price for Miles Bridges. He's got way more upside than that. A really solid floor, so even if LaMelo comes back in, Miles Bridges at 6K is a pretty good option. If LaMelo himself plays, I just give him a game to get back into the flow. I'm not paying that much for LaMelo Ball yet. If LaMelo does stay out, Isaiah Wong is a pretty good option. He's been playing some backup point guard minutes, and he's only 3,600. He's a good low-priced option, 20 and 24 DK points in the last 2 games, in fairly low minutes as well. Nick Richards is just about off the table for me, 5,300 and only 16 minutes in the last game. Mark Williams is back. He's continuing to ramp up, and he played 17 minutes the last game, so we're seeing more and more Mark Williams, lessening my interest in Nick Richards whatsoever. In 17 minutes last game, Mark Williams scored 31 DK points, and he's only at 5,100, so I'll be looking at Williams in this one. On the Philly side of the ball, with Embiid back out again, this time it's a nasal fracture, I believe. Both Maxey and Paul George will get usage bumps here. So for beginners, when a high usage guy or someone who shoots the ball a lot, passes the ball a lot, like Joel Embiid, is out, guys around him on the team who may just have been plodding along with their normal standard, they're going to get usage bumps. So that's for the beginners. It's something to really look at. We're not just looking at the guy who's coming into play for Embiid. We're going to look at the guys around Embiid who are going to see a whole lot more of the ball. And in this case, it's Tyrese Maxey. He's at 8,800. Paul George at 8,300. They get nice bumps. They're decently priced. I don't mind either of them in this game. Jared McCain is also out, so it's probably Kelly Oubre, 5,800. I don't play a lot of Kelly Oubre, to be honest, but there's no denying his last handful of games have been pretty consistent, over 30 DK points. 5,800 is not a bad price with McCain out. The obvious fill-in for Embiid generally has been in the past Andre Drummond, but I'm not going there. I would rather look at Yabusele at 5,200 if you need to find a mid-price option. On to the next game. It's that low pace, low points kind of expectation game. It's Miami at Detroit. There's not much here I'm interested in on the Miami side of the ball, to be honest. Duncan Robinson at 4,200. This is a roller coaster player. shooting guard is one of the spots that you can attack the Pistons historically this season. So 4,200, it's going to be hit and miss. But again, if you need that low price player to just slot into your lineups to help you get the bigger guys in, then Duncan Robinson here is not a bad option. Drew Smith is also a good option here. 3,800, he's a slot filler with a 20-point DK upside. He's getting some decent minutes, 26 minutes in his last 3 games, 26 plus minutes. So look at Drew Smith if you need to. On the Detroit side of the ball, Tobias Harris is out. So here we go again. There's usage going around the place, right? We don't just look at who's coming in for Tobias Harris. We've got to look at the guys on the team who will see a bump in usage, shots taken, assists, all of that stuff, rebounds. Malik Beasley at 4,600. He's another shooting guard who is, pretty inconsistent, but he could go off here with some extra shots. I don't mind that price. Jaden Ivey at 6,700 is another guy who's going to absorb some usage with Tobias being out, and he could have a ceiling game. You just never know. He does have 40-point upside. That's about it for that game. Let's keep it moving. Cleveland at Brooklyn. So the major news here is Evan Mobley is probable, and that pretty much ends the usage bumps to the other starters, Mitchell, Garland, Jarrett Allen, but Mobley himself at 7,900. That's a pretty good play. I don't mind that at playing against Brooklyn, and also the other option I wanted to look at here was Karis LeVert, 5K. Look, he's another up and down guy, but generally off the bench, he's going to play decent minutes. If this gets out of hand, if Brooklyn can't keep up with Cleveland, you'll probably see a few more minutes for Karis LeVert. So at 5K, not a bad option. It is that kind of blindfold dart throw. Don't expect consistency from these guys. It's more a case of, it's my last slot. I've got to find someone around that 5K mark. Karis LeVert is a decent option. So the major news on the Brooklyn Nets side of the ball is that Dennis Schroeder has been traded away to the Warriors. So we need to look at who is going to fill that spot for point guard at the Brooklyn Nets, and this is a season-long fantasy option as well. I think it's Shake Milton. I think he's probably the only one in the remaining lineup as it gets worse and worse for the Nets who can handle the ball and set his team up. So at 4,700, he has had a price bump since the last game, and with this news, I still like Shake Milton here, especially if he gets the start. If you see on the news that he gets the start, just lock him in, 4,700. That's one of my favourite plays of the day. Dorian Finney-Smith at 5K. He looks to be an absolute steal as well. No Schroeder, we're going to get more usage for other guys, and Finney-Smith has topped 30 minutes in both of his return games. So he was out with injuries, come back 2 games, 30 minutes, and I think 37 minutes. He's going to smash through 5K. That's too low. So play him. Okay, Chicago at Raptors, at the Toronto Raptors. So this is one of those super fast games. It should stay close, hopefully. Vucevic is probable and Levine is questionable. So I like Kobe White and Ayo Dosunmu, either of those guys, if Levine sits. You can probably play them both. Kobe White is 6,400 on DK and Dosunmu is 6,200. I have no issues playing both of those guys in this kind of matchup when Levine is out. If Levine is in, I would probably play one or the other. They're still decent prices. If Levine plays, he could have a nice game versus the Raptors himself. I like seeing Levine around $7,500 on DK. I will have stabs at him here in this matchup. Again, if Levine is out, Josh Giddey is coming off a couple of huge games. 6,600 is a good price for him. I wouldn't go there if Levine is playing, though. On the Raptors side of the ball, RJ Barrett basically has to do everything for the Raptors at the moment, and this is another, for the beginners out there, this is another case of no Barnes, no Quickly. The usage has to go somewhere, and it's RJ Barrett. So he is up around he is right on 9K at the moment in DK pricing, but I'm still willing to pay that. In this matchup versus Chicago, fast game, should stay close. I will play the high price players in these games. I like RJ Barrett at 9K. Jakob Poeltl, 7,300. He's come back to earth a little in his last couple of games, but I still like that price for him in this nice game script. And the lower guy here to look at is Jonathan Mobo with Barnes out, $4,400. He's had a price bump since the last game, but he has got a decent floor at that price with Barnes out. The other fast game of the day, let's jump into this one. It's Denver at Sacramento, 237 total. Vegas can't split them. We've got even odds here, which I haven't seen very often. So hopefully we'll get a nice, close, fast game and we can target some guys here. Jamal Murray is probable. After putting up 38 DK points in his last game, he's had a price drop. Okay, DraftKings. He's at 7,300. I love that price here. You can play Jamal Murray here and hope the game stays close and that Jamal has a ceiling game. The one we always look at is Nikola Jokic for Denver. He is way up at 12,200, but just listen to these scores. 77, 72, 90, 85. Now, he did have a low one in the last game, only about 30 DK points, but I am still happy to pay 12-2 for Jokic in this game script. I'm looking for a big bounce back here. If you can find some lower price guys to slot in around him, which we've already mentioned, I'm still happy to pay up for Jokic. Christian Brown is questionable, so if he can't go, I don't mind stabs at Julian Strouder at 3,800. He'll probably get a minutes bump, and he could start. Maybe he starts. If he starts, lock him in. On the Sacramento side of the ball, I like Fox and DeRozan here rather than Sabonis. 8,700 for Fox and 8K for DeMar. I'm okay with those prices in this matchup. Again, fingers crossed it stayed close and both of those guys have an opportunity to blow through those prices. Malik Monk at 6,800. Looking for a bounce back game here from Malik. He's been on fire lately. Shocker last time. If you can't get to DeMar or De'Aaron Fox or one of those other guys we've mentioned, higher prices, Malik Monk at 6,800 is a good value bet. Kevin Huerter here is doubtful. This could be a decent Keon Ellis game as well. 3,400, cheapest chips. That comes with a risk warning. He's not the best DFS guy. He's really good for season-long fantasy with defensive stats, but there is a potential for a decent game here for Keon Ellis. Last game of the day, Utah Jazz at the Clippers. Honestly, I have fairly low interest in this just due to the pricing. For Utah, the only guy I'm really looking at is Keontae George at 6,300. He's been on a nice little tear the last few games. Over 45 DK points in both of those games. 6,300 is a breeze. Look, you can't always expect 45 DK points from Keontae, but at 6,300, I'm willing to take the chance. Jordan Clarkson here is questionable, but if he plays at 6K, I'm also interested in him. He has a nice solid floor, good minutes for Utah off the bench, solid cash play. On the Clippers side of the ball, I'm not really interested in Harden. Norm Powell at 6,500 is an interesting play. He's been playing really well this season. He's cooled off a little bit, but 6,500 versus Utah, I'll look at that every day. And also Ivica Zubac at 7,100 is an interesting play. Probably not a huge amount of upside in either of those guys, maybe more cash plays. Your tournament plays, Kevin Porter Jr. at 4,400. He's on an absolute roll at the moment. Versus Utah, he could easily keep that going. Ditto Bones Highland, who's been getting good minutes off the bench. He's 3,500. If you need that bottom of the barrel price, we've got a number of guys I've mentioned now who are around that 4K, 3,400, 3,500 DK price that you can use to help you slot in some big guys. That's about it, guys. As I said, this is designed to be a short, compact DFS overview. If you've got any questions, please hit me up below in the comments. I'm happy to answer them when I get to them. Hit like. Please subscribe to Old Man Squad Network. Thank you again, Dan Besperis. You can find me on Twitter at Terrain72, and you can find me on Blue Sky at Terrain72. But .bsky .social, I knew I'd get that wrong the first time. So the spelling is Terrain72, Terrain 72. Back to you, Dan.
That was Snacksize DFS with my good buddy Brenton Eckersley. Now, turn this sucker off, set up your lineups, and go have some fun with daily fantasy sports. Thanks to Brenton. He already gave you his various social media handles, but, you know, suppose it can't really hurt to do it a few times. He's my guy, Terrain72. Check him out on Twitter, on Blue Sky, wherever you can check that out. Make sure to ask him questions in this YouTube feed and go have some fun. We'll be back with you with our full season show a little bit later on Monday morning. We'll probably have a double dip for you as well. Remember, hit that like button, subscribe on your way out, and we'll catch you guys really damn soon. So long for now.